Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. How you doing? It's clobbering time. So here we are. We're going to talk about two fictional characters battling it out in the theater of the imagination, all fun and games, until someone loses an eye. So, as normal, I'll filibuster a bit till we get a couple of people in. Yes, I still have this damn neck brace on, and all of a sudden my hair grew. My hair was short, then ba-boom. So believe it or not, after this video, my wife is going to give me a haircut. Yeah, because it is now 8 weeks without a paycheck. I can't afford gas or a haircut. Stupid insurance companies dragging their feet. They promised me Monday everything will be taken care of. So there you go. All right. So as usual, here's my trusty co-host, Marcus Kelly.
You could say sidekick if you wanted.
What's that?
You could have said sidekick.
Sidekicks. Same thing, right? Sidekick, co-host.
I couldn't. I'm sorry. I saw you streaming yesterday, but it's been a long week and a lot of driving. I was so tired that I couldn't stay up today.
Hey, well, it was a spur of the moment, last minute thing.
I saw that. You made me nervous moving those boxes, though.
Yeah. Last night, for those of you
I know you're okay, but
yeah, I had to stop because I realized I put one box in and I left out. So I had to pull out. I was like, all right, I'm getting aggravated. I'm getting distracted. I got to turn off the camera.
I almost got my coffee. That's not good.
Yeah, get your coffee. I got my coffee.
I have my coffee.
What brand do you use?
I use my sister's brand, Coffee Labs Coffee. And we have Witch's Brew for the fall.
Oh, cool. Yeah. You know, me and my wife got to drive up there, but I ain't doing anything until the
travel up there now. Her coffee's not cheap. It's expensive. It's very expensive. It's very elite, but it's very expensive. It's elite coffee. She's an elitist, you know.
Well, they say Starbucks is elite too. Starbucks just tastes like burnt coffee.
No, it doesn't taste like burnt coffee. They have big D elitist, my sister. But she hires anybody. She has a guy's conspiracy theories who grinds the coffee. I talk to him when I go up there, and then she has a right winger who sends out the coffee, and they make fun of her.
Just showing off. I got my project.
I saw that. Today. Great.
Yeah, he autographed them for me.
Nice.
I like I said, I'm just filibustered a bit till people show up. Do you like autographed comics?
I used to get them autographed. Yeah, it's okay with me.
And if you get autographed comics, how do you like them? On the cover or inside?
Well, now they do them on the cover, so they do them on the cover. If there's a space on the cover that doesn't get in the way, I don't mind. But when I was a kid, like a teenager in the 80s, you know, going to get comics and meeting all these guys when they were young, they signed on the inside. We had Frank Miller and Chris Claremont on Wolverine #1. And then I was told that signed copies don't mean anything.
Right.
Everybody thinks it's worth anything, but they were like, when I sold my comic, they're like, no, autographed comics, nobody cares.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the very first autograph I ever got was John Byrne. I was a wee little kid.
I had Byrne too.
And he autographed, and I remember he opened it up and he signed underneath the indicia.
Underneath the indicia. That's where they used to sign. And then when I started doing my own when I was creating a comic, the Cap Courage comic, and we were going to cons, we did a lot of the cons in the basement of that church. Everybody was signing with paint pens on top of the comic and Sharpies. So like my comic is signed on the front. There isn't a space for it. It's kind of weird to me, but that's what they did. And they've always signed on the front since.
I remember Rini was saying that there's like a special pen that you're supposed to use now.
She didn't sign. I bought her comics from her at Heroes Con because I figured, I never got the comics. I never, I can't get everything all at once.
Right.
So, it's in person. So that way, if I'm saving shipping, right? And it's nice. She's real nice. I mean, I've talked to her before. And I said, oh, you forgot to sign them. And she signed them on the inside, which that's fine by me. I didn't really mind. I just wanted to give her the boost.
Show you. I opened this up today.
I had that. That's wild.
I love the movie, and I forget who I was talking to was talking about this. But this is Rick Veitch, John Tuttle, but just insanity.
I don't know what happened to it, but I had it. My mom worked in a bookstore, a local bookstore. It was a bookshop.
I got this on eBay.
Yeah. How much was it on eBay?
Like $25.
My mom
It's
worked on that.
autographed by Rick Veitch, and it doesn't even know. It doesn't even say that it's autographed. Like
Huh.
they don't even care. Like it
That's-
wasn't like autographed. You know.
That's some. When you read that, if I remember that, that is some wild comic. There's some stuff in there. Woof.
Well, I
It's
love
a
the
fever
movie
dream.
1941. I've seen it a million times.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
I've seen that movie. I like that movie. My
Yeah,
brother
me
and I
too.
went to movies.
I saw it a million times. I had it on VHS. So, but this comic is the movie, but exaggerated to 10.
Way exaggerated.
Yeah.
Wait, like
It's like 1941 on acid.
there was a type of book that would show up not in a comic store, but they weren't comic stores then, but in a bookshop. And my mom worked in a bookshop, so anything graphic novelty, like I have the original Aliens that Goodwin and Simonson did. I still have that. I don't know what happened in 1941, but that's some wild comic. So I was telling you, and this is the only nobody's really in here yet. So I was telling you I was going to do a cover. I'll show you the sketch if you want to see
Sure.
it.
And while he's showing that, this is an invite for anybody who wants to pop in.
I don't know if you can see it.
It's too much glare.
Yeah. Wait, let me go backwards.
Oh, cool.
You can get an idea of it anyway.
Yep.
That's what he asked for, pretty much. I was. Thank you. You guys are the only ones who've seen it. I'm not making it. It's his, so I'm not selling anybody else.
All right.
Yeah.
While we're waiting,
Ashley's.
I'm going to give a sneak peek of something really cool. I will give because it's just so good. I can't keep it to myself. But wait. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to give a sneak peek of something really, really cool. I showed this the other night, but you probably didn't see it yet, Marcus. That is the Golden Age. The Golden Age Captain Arachnid.
I like that. Yeah, nice.
Is that cool or what?
That's really nice. I like that.
I drew a crappy.
That's right up my alley.
I drew a crappy picture, sent it to Oscar, and then Oscar sent me back this. And then I will show the Silver Age, because everything in this comic has a Golden Age and a Silver Age version. So that was the Golden Age version. And here is the Silver Age version. Look at that. That is amazing. That is awesome.
That's really nice.
That is so cool. And also, while we're waiting, I would be remiss in my duty if I didn't show this. So, and it's been a while since it's been a while since I showed this, but I don't even think I've ever shown the trailer. Kyle Prometheus made this really cool trailer for me. So if everybody will indulge me, I'm going to take a minute and show this trailer.
I like the music. That's terrific, and I don't like trailers, by the way.
Yeah, I'm back and forth.
But I really like you. That's a really nice one.
Yeah, Kyle Prometheus. I've been so lucky. I had a Phantasmagorical made me one, and then Kyle Prometheus made me another, and I'm over the moon with how both of them came out.
Yeah, it's terrific. Yeah,
but people like, you got to get a trailer. You got to get. I'm like, oh, I'm being utilitarian. I'm like, that's just another expense. But here's the back cover. And then this is what I want to show. This is on Indiegogo only right now. This is the Mike Gustovich cover. And to me, I don't know. This is like the most 80s superhero cover imaginable.
Yeah, that's it. That's the superhero cover, right?
That skewed perspective. The bad guy swooping in on his flying ant. Just so good. That's so good. So, and I guess I guess while I got people watching, I will show. I was just talking to Luke Stone today that I'm not sharing that Fund My Comic is going to be my home going forward. So I tried.
I think that's a good idea.
I tried the other formats. Kickstarter was okay. Indiegogo, maybe it's I waited too long or whatever, but you can only get this cover on Fund My Comic.
I feel like yeah.
And now the Michael T. Gilbert cover has been brought over to Fund My Comic too.
I feel like Indiegogo and Fund My Comic have similar fans.
Right, yeah.
And then if you're already on Indiegogo first and you do okay, and whatever really well is, you're not going to do as well on Fund My Comic. But if you do Fund My Comic first, you're going to do better than Indiegogo. Kickstarter's a whole other thing. I'm going to
stay with Fund My Comic because I know Luke, I know the people there. I get personalized service. You know what I mean? Like I messed up and Luke fixed it. Luke, I messed up my banking information on the Stripe end, and Luke was on the phone with Stripe because I messed it up so bad I couldn't fix it.
I feel
like I've never seen this problem before. Yeah. John, you invented a new problem, and he was on the phone for hours fixing it. So I will always be loyal to them.
I feel like any smallish. I don't want to say smallish publisher like Vaughn Coleman. You should be on Fund My Comic because you need that help,
right?
To get through first timers, particularly if you really learn how to do it well. Maybe you can spread it out later. I know that some like Stippling Vaughn says, "Oh, be like Doritos, be on everywhere." But I've been watching. It's not just you, but other campaigns go to Kickstarter from being on Indiegogo, and it doesn't work out all that well.
Right.
Like the Kickstarter doesn't go like big channels. Now, if they're already on, like Billy Tucci, if they're already on Kickstarter, it does well on Kickstarter. But I'm not convinced anybody else in CG really does all that well, unless they start on Kickstarter first.
So, when Indiegogo closes down, I'm going to move that cover over to Fund My Comic, and if anybody's upset that they don't want to put, message me and we'll fix the shipping and everything like that. I don't want anybody to be upset. So, and somebody was talking about autographs. I don't know why anybody would want my autograph on a comic book. I'm nobody. But if you want it signed, believe me, when the comics come to my house, I'm going to be taking pictures and I'm going to be telling everybody. So I will say, if you want, I'm not charging. What the hell am I? You can't. I can understand John Byrne charging for an autograph or Michael Golden because those people take those autographs, they put them on eBay and sell them for $100.
They do charge now. They charge a lot.
I got no problems. If you guys, if anybody can get a nickel for my autograph, please direct me to that person because I'll sign all day long. I could use a lot of nickels right now. So if you want,
Smith doesn't charge. Billy Tucci doesn't charge. They want to donate. Like Billy, you want to donate to the veterans and stuff.
Right. But as I was saying, if you want
Amanda charge for the first comic.
Okay. As I was saying, if you want me to sign it, I'll give you plenty of opportunity. Just message me and I'll write down a note and I'll try to do it. I'm not going to charge. And get Renzo to charge. It's just logistically impossible because to mail comics to him takes 2 months, and then there's no guarantee that it's going to get there, and then to mail them back takes another. So if you that's 4 months. So
that's a lot.
So it looks like it's probably not going to happen. I used to say that if I made it to 10,000, I was going to fly Renzo here. We were going to sign together. So, well, something we'll shoot for at issue 2. Issue 2, I might have bundles of all 4 covers, and then issue, So there we go. And then issue.
The shame about them charging a lot of times if I'm at the show when I had my comic collection and I wanted to say George Perez, him autographed by that, it was still free then. For him signing for free is a way I can say hello to him.
Right.
It breaks the ice. But I went to see Mike Grell, I walked by him and he's charging $20. I'm like, you're not Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, but
then I get in my New York. Who the heck are you? $5, $10, maybe $20. Jim Strong was $20.
That's probably his income. That's probably his only income.
He did a lot. He has money. They all look okay.
I hope,
They're
I
not.
hope
Some
so.
of these guys aren't as destitute as you think.
So if you're interested, here's the link to the Indiegogo. You know, right now that's the only place to get the Mike Gustovich cover, and the Fund My Comic. That's the it'll be the only place to get the Pat Broderick cover, and you can get the Michael T. Gilbert cover because the Kickstarter is closed.
You're nicer than I am.
And here's an invite if anybody wants to join in and pick a side. Okay, we got a bunch of people now. So F in the chat says he doesn't know who Q is. Isn't Q the guy who makes all the weapons for James Bond? Isn't that Q?
That is the weapons of James Bond.
Right?
That's true.
He doesn't, but beyond it is Budget God who doesn't know anything yet. Hold that. We'll talk that. The Mighty Kevin says that howdy lads, Beyonder all the way. So he's picking sides already. Hail Marcus, John, how you heal it? I got to wear this for an extra month. The specialist says it's a lot worse than the general doctors said. We got to trust the specialist. And the insurance company's like, no, you went back to work already.
No, did they?
Yeah. So
yeah,
this is 8 weeks. No pay. The insurance company, whatever trick they could get to not pay me. So, you know, I was like, oh, great. I was making him feel bad. I was like, well, I was hoping to go food shopping today. Maybe I'll go next week then. And the guy's like,
oh, I have to go food shopping tomorrow. I hate going food shop.
That trailer's great. Reminds me of Stanley. Yeah, Kyle Prometheus. Thank you, Kyle. You did a great job. The Mighty Kevin. Not going to lie, my new V&V campaign. So a little bit of, so you know what we're talking about. Kevin was one of my housemates. Me and Kevin and a bunch of other guys. We all lived in a house together in Albuquerque. And everybody in the house played Warhammer and role-playing games. I was the only one who didn't do Warhammer because I just could not get down that.
Warhammer is expensive.
Right. I just couldn't do it. It was role-playing was good because I bought that rule book, and that's really all you need. The rule book, loose leaf, dice, and paper, and a calculator, and you were good. But Warhammer, even though Kevin was like, here, I got an extra army, I was like, no, because once you pop that cork, and Kevin, they had a dining room table, and they just put felt over it, and that was the thing. And then the china cabinet, because it was one of our housemates' grandmother's house, who I think she no longer was there. They were renting it out to us, so it was old-fashioned china cabinets just filled with Warhammer. You know, instead of wallpaper in the dining room, it was hex boards that they would write their insane and it was so interesting. And I just I just had to not pay attention because I knew I would get sucked in.
My son wanted to play Warhammer, and we got him a couple of things, but it never kept. It was too complicated. He was too young, so it kept us from having to buy that. But these are real. Like they paint them. Like my writer paints all these little now it's Inuits. He's sending me pictures and there's bears and all this.
Oh, I didn't finish his
details.
Comment. So his campaign is a Secret Wars. Okay, so he's playing Village Vigilantes, the game that I introduced out there, and then my comic is inspired by. So he's starting up a campaign. So Kevin, who used to be a player, is now running a game for the guys out in Albuquerque, and his villain is Beyonder inspiring. So good. Whenever they act up, you just have your NPC zap them into behaving. I don't know who Q is, but I'm pulling from. I guess we don't have Star Trek fans. Yeah,
I know who Q is. I read a couple of Peter David books with Q. I don't remember them that well.
Old Dirty Fatty says, hello, Marcus. You sank $35,000 into Warhammer. Holy mackerel.
Oh, wow.
Holy mackerel.
That's more like Money Hammer.
Yeah, you act like Warhammer is geek heroin. It is. It is. It is. The Beyonder would win. His past is a bit complicated, though. Wasn't he a woman for a while in the Galactic Prison and Thanos had to deal with her? If that's true, I don't remember that story, but...
Well, there's more out there about Beyonder than there's about Q. Q is, you have to watch the shows. There isn't like...
Well, I know that Q's daughter was killed in a heroin overdose, and then he caused an airplane... Oh, no, wait, that's Breaking Bad.
That's...
Same actor, in case nobody gets the joke.
I got it. Oh, the actor who played Q.
Thank you.
I'll get into that.
Marcus is good. He put in the link to into my forum. You can see story write-ups, and if you're really persistent, you can actually see comic book stories before the comic book comes out because it's a lot of it. You can get a lot of back info about my world. Although obviously things have to change. things have to be, let's just say things change. So yeah, 35K over 20 years. Yeah, still.
Yeah, over 20
I
years.
believe Q is similar to a hive mind. Keep that thought. That's something I want to talk about a little later. I have thoughts about Q. And I have thoughts about Beyonder too. I choose Q. I believe Q is more cunning and sneaky than the Beyonder is, that's a very good point. That is a very good point. So Marcus, as always, Q is more creative than the Beyonder. Those are good points. So Marcus, as always, I ask you, who do you want to champion?
I guess the Beyonder, I suppose.
Okay, you're gonna pick the Beyonder. Okay.
Both of these characters don't have as much detail as the other characters do. They've used the Beyonder in Marvel after Secret Wars too, but really not all that much because nobody really knows what to do with him. But the Beyonder was in the Secret Wars 1, but he had no corporeal being, and he picked out all the heroes. He watched Earth and he loved all these heroes, and he transported them to what's now called Battle World. It wasn't called Battle World then. He put that world together from pieces of other places, including Denver, Colorado.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And that the other thing about the Beyonder that's interesting is that part of his power is the Molecule Man. So the Beyonder was kind of in the Marvel universe retroactively longer than we think.
Yeah, he was retroactively inserted in the way that I like. I don't mind if you take an old story and insert something that doesn't change with the original story.
It explained the Molecule Man because the Molecule Man's immense power makes no sense. The only way anybody can beat him, of course, is to fool him, make him feel bad, that type of thing. So
he's got the
that's really part of Beyonder's power. Yeah,
he defeats himself, the Molecule Man.
Right, and so does both of these characters really have to do that. And so he set up the whole Secret Wars. He slapped Galactus down. And then they decided the second Secret Wars that he was so intrigued, he was by Earth, that he set himself up and he got a Michael Jackson hairdo and white Elvis / Michael Jackson uniform and visited all the characters on Earth. So much like the Silver Surfer, he was trying to learn from them how to be human.
Right. So he was beyond all time and space. And they kind of hinted that there's more than one Beyonder, or maybe there's...
I thought there was a race. I remember a race of Beyonders.
That's what I vaguely remember. And if anybody has any definitive information, put it in the chat, or come in. Better yet, come in and tell us. But I remember the creation of the Molecule Man caused him to be aware of our universe.
That's right.
And then he kind of peeked in, and he was watching, and he saw all these superheroes fighting, and to him, being beyond greed and everything like this, and he didn't know what the big deal was. So he took bad guys and he put good guys, and he basically wants to find out which was more powerful, good or evil. And the thing that I found interesting was he put Magneto with the good guys. And I remember as a kid reading that, I thought that was so clever, because really, to a dispassionate being, Magneto is fighting for a cause, whereas Crusher Creel and everybody else is fighting. Galactus is fighting for hunger. Everybody else is fighting for like a base need. But like it or not, Magneto had a noble cause. It was just that his methods were wrong or violent or whatever. So I thought that was an interesting little twist in the comic. To me, as a little kid, I was like, you see, comic books are literature, because the Beyonder misunderstands Magneto. But I love that. And then and through this, Beyonder gets interested in humanity. And like you said, because it's comic books and because they were printing money with the Secret Wars, they went back and did Secret Wars 2, which really never should have happened.
Never should have happened.
Never should have happened. And the Beyonder just artificially inserted himself into every comic book, just disrupting the flow of the comics. And that was the first time. I didn't know what the term was. I learned this term just recently, but I hate Red. People say hate watch. You hate watching Rings of Power.
You had to get it.
I
had to get Secret Wars too.
I remember buying that comic to make fun of it and laugh at how bad it was, but I didn't know the term. So I got that. And it was bad.
He gave Daredevil his sight back. He tried to learn how to be, like Captain America. He made that building gold, not understanding he put everybody in danger.
Right.
Destroy the economy of the United States. But the problem was, all that's fine and good. It sounds good, but the execution was so slapdash and
Right.
fast.
It could have been really
The
good.
usual Marvel comic that you get a certain amount of level of professionalism. We weren't getting it. Like Al Milgram's fine when he has a little time, but that didn't look like he had too much time.
No,
And
they
he did
rushed
the
that
whole
out.
book, and they rushed
Yeah,
that
I'm
second one
looking
out.
at all these.
They rushed the first one out, but this one's even worse.
I'm looking at all these comments of stuff that I forgot. Spider-Man had to show.
Yeah, I forgot that too.
I feel Q would have known how to poop. The Molecule Man's only weakness is his out-of-date costume. I love that old-fashioned costume. I love the old-fashioned costume. I'm scrolling back up to see some of these comments that have scrolled past. F in the chat says the Beyonder was the essence and creator of a fresh new universe. He had no experience or understanding, so he set people to fight each other in Secret Wars 2. Then he tried to be helpful. Right. He tried to be helpful in Secret Wars 2, but he was like a meddling, well-meaning child. I already saw that. The battle would have lasted several ions to the end of time. Yeah. Doom has a noble cause. Yeah, everything Doom does is noble because he's Doom, right?
Doom in Secret Wars 1 was the wild card.
Right.
He was in the middle of the two, and he was trying to manipulate so he could get all the power, particularly Beyonder's power, or at the very least Galactus.
Right. Yeah, the Beyonder was dispassionate at first, and then he became interested. So I guess your comment, yeah, makes sense. Is the Beyonder more powerful than the Watcher? I would say yes.
Yes.
I would say yes.
Well, the Beyonder ended up, as we talk about, he ended up like killing a couple of those elders of the universe, like that are standing around. So yes, I forget which one's off the top of my head, but it was like, which one did he get rid? He killed.
I would say that the Beyonder, by his very premise, has to be more powerful than the Watcher.
I mean, he took on Galactus like it was nothing.
So the only one I think on a level would be like the Living Tribunal. But has the Living Tribunal ever really displayed his power? He's a character that people just talk about how powerful he is.
So he did. So he managed to kill Living Tribunal. He managed to get rid of all the CS deals at one point after, and the Living Tribunal. But apparently, he was less powerful than the Phoenix Force, which I question. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Secret Wars 2, yeah, people all say the same thing, reminding me of all the silly things in Secret Wars 2. Q's more of a pessimist. He seems he's got more experience with life. Yeah, we'll bring that up when we talk about Q. They checked up.
But they made him like, I don't know, man. It was like Jim Shooter's self-insert, And I spent time with him. He's a super nice guy, but it was kind of his self-insert, especially Secret Wars 2. He kind of looked like him. He was real tall,
Funny they treat the Beyonder like a childish gene. Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, what they did to Claw was messed up. Q is like Mixelplick. Yeah. Mixelplick. They had all those all-powerful imps. Beyonder is a god. The Watcher just watches. That,
Mixelplick was great. A great foil for Superman for a character that's so powerful that can foil him. And he had to figure out how to say it backwards. I mean, it gets old, but think about when it started. That's really a bad character.
Being as powerful as they are, they might agree to Battle of the Wits, possibly using mortals as pawns, like in old movies. Yeah, about the ancient Greek gods. Yeah, I agree. I thought Starbrand was Shooter's self-insert.
Oh, that was his different self-insert.
Yeah. And when you run the company, you can have.
That reminded me. Do you remember that Defenders Annual where they had them moving the superheroes like chess pieces? The Jim
with the Grandmaster,
and it was like reprints in the middle. The Chess Master, and then whether the Collector. I think that's almost the beginning of that idea of this whole.
Now I got to go look that up again. I think I read that when it came out. Yeah, I like Starbrand. Starbrand, I thought, was the best of the new universe. DP7 and Starbrand.
If we say new universe 3 times, Stippling Vaughn shows up.
Yeah. And And don't say Kickers Incorporated 3 times. You don't want to know who shows up. So the Beyonder. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But didn't they say that the Beyonder was just a sentient cosmic cube?
They did change him to the cosmic cube a part of a cosmic cube at one point.
Was that part of Secret Wars 2?
That was after.
Okay.
I think it was after, but I'm not sure.
So
I should have read Secret Wars 2.
After Secret Wars 2, what did they do with the Beyonder? I'm having a hard time. Like I don't recall seeing him again.
They didn't use him that much. Yeah. They said that Tom DeFalco retooled about diminishing his power greatly, and then he got his power back. He was retconned again to be a child of a race of Beyonders. That's where, but that has to be like that Q. That's like Trelane.
Right. Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll go talk about that.
I guess that's a good segue. Let's talk about Q.
Trelane is a Q. To me, anyway.
If I could buy a certain you'd buy the new universe?
Well, the new universe
Marvel's not even worth that much anymore. I wonder how much the new universe would be. All right. That sounds like a bad retcon. All right, so Q, for those of you who don't know, is part of the Star Trek universe, the continuum. So in the very first episode of The Next Generation, we introduced to Q, and Q is this all-powerful, omnipotent being. Like the Beyonder, I don't think he's omniscient. I can never say that word, omniscient. So I don't believe he could sense everything all at once. He's not omnipresent. He's not everywhere at once, but he's omnipotent. Those are the 3 things to me that you need to be the supreme being: omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. But so far, like Q and the Beyonder only have one of those 3. Okay, that's me. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody knows more, because I didn't finish Deep Space Nine or Voyager yet. Maybe they explain more of Q then. But so there's this Q continuum, and I don't know if they ever actually literally explained what the Q continuum is, but it's beyond time and space, and these beings are beyond rules of physics, and Q is like, they hint that they're like a collective race, and you get individuality when, like, Q is, when he goes back, he's like absorbed. Am I right or wrong about that? Anybody know? But he always takes the same form of that actor. What's his name? Delancey. I can't remember his first name, but he's pretty much he's almost doing the same thing as the Beyonder. He's making them justify their own existence, like humanity. Like, he's putting Picard on trial for the crimes of humanity, like that didn't even happen yet, that happened in the past, and things like that. And then he pulls back and he observes all 7 seasons, and then he makes his judgment in the final episode, and then it's almost the same story as the Beyonder. He learns morality, he learns right, wrong, he learns friendship. He wants to emulate the humans. So that's why I picked this. They almost the same character, but with very important differences that he said in the chat. That I want to bring up that it was one of the first comments. I clicked on it for a second, because I didn't want to. Where is it? I can't find it, but here he is. Q is more creative than the Beyonder, and he's more like a trickster god. And the Beyonder, somebody else said that the Beyonder was childlike. John Delancey, that's the name of the actor. Thank you.
Yeah, he was in Days of Our Lives for years.
Oh, he was?
In fact, they had a great story. I watched it in high school, and they had a storyline with Arlene Schumer, who was the voice of Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
And she was actually they watched Bruce Timm and they watched that too. And she dressed up like basically Harley Quinn in the show, and that's where they got the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
That's right. I did see that.
Yeah. So she just recently passed away.
So I forget who it was who said it in the chat. If you want to repost to get you credit, but the Q was more. He had his wits about him. He had plans. He kind of. I think me personally, and feel free to argue with me, and that's what this whole thing is about. I always felt that Q knew the outcome of the trial before it happened, that he was kind of an ally to humanity. He liked humanity, and he was rooting for humanity, and he was pushing for Picard and the Empire and the Federation to get to the next level.
Eventually.
That's what I think Q was. So I think he was more benevolent, but tricky, and sometimes like a harsh dad. Like you got to smack somebody on the behind for them to learn a lesson, kind of thing. That's what I think.
There was a Q continuum, yes.
Yeah.
And he did have a daughter that showed up. And a son.
He had a son that liked to make Seven of Nine make it.
That's right. That's in Voyager, yeah.
I think he becomes Franklin Richards. Now, this is Kevin brings up this. I've been rereading Fantastic Four to try to get my memory straight about this. But Franklin Richards is like, he's either like grows up to be a Celestial or a Beyonder, but we all agree that he's like super powerful. But I guess it's all like potential futures or whatever. But does anybody know the definitive the definitive prophecy of Franklin Richards? I said it right. Write this down, Marcus. You're the moderator. You got write down. Somebody said I said it right. It doesn't happen too often that people
say that. That's one. Congratulations.
On Friday the 13th, I said it right. What about the one above all versus the Beyonder? The one above all is a Celestial. And if I remember correctly, the Beyonder beat all the Celestials at once.
You know? That's right.
Right. The only Marvel character that I believe that would give the Beyonder a run for his money is the Living Tribunal. But to be honest, I never saw the Living Tribunal in action, but
they usually just sit there.
Right. He's usually like so powerful he doesn't have to do anything. The Beyonder merged with the Molecule Man and became a woman called Maker. Thanos had to deal with her the 2000 Thanos series by Keith Giffen. I think I have that series. And I know I read it. If I had it, I read it because I'm almost caught up to all my Marvel. Q is not as powerful as the Continuum, as they could take his powers away.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but there's also a collective of them, right? But that's something that they have in common. Q lost his powers, but it took an act of the Continuum to make him lose his powers. Whereas Doom, a normal human, I guess calling Doom a normal human is not correct, but a mere human caused the Beyonder to lose his powers.
The problem with trying to find out what to deal with Franklin Richards is they've been around since 1966, 67, and he's been through so much, especially in the last 20, 30, 40 years. He did this, he did that. He's Onslaught, he's not Onslaught. He did the Secret Wars. He's more powerful than it. He's Psylord. You'll see that.
Right.
It's so many things. It's hard to tell.
So that Mike's Total Dragon channel, excuse me, he says that all of the Q are individuals, but they're all named Q. That's interesting.
I think that's true.
And Whoopi Goldberg calls it the Q Continuum. Right. She calls it and then she does this, and I hate the character of Guinan. Oh my God! If I turn on Star Trek: The Next Generation and Guinan, it's like, oh God! All right, power through this.
Yeah, well, she's terrible.
Yeah, she's horrible in every aspect. I even met her in person, and she was horrible.
When did you meet her? That's pretty cool.
I was an apprentice electrician, and it was a building called the Hippodrome, and it was a radio station there, and she was there giving an interview. And I was the apprentice, so I had to go down and unload a truck. So I don't know if you know what a U-boat is. I filled up the U-boat filled with all of this electrical equipment, heavy as all get out. And I got to go up the ramp on the loading dock. Now, the loading dock, it's got 3 sections. It's got a ramp. Then it's got a negative area where trucks back in and just pull right up. You know what I mean? So I'm going up the ramp. And then over here, there's trucks back in, and then over here there's stairs. But if you come off the elevator, you go right down the ramp, or you walk and go down the stairs. Well, Miss Fat Disgusting Person gets off the elevator and starts coming down the ramp, but the ramp is only this wide, and I'm already 3/4 of the way up the ramp, pushing a U-boat filled with heavy ass electrical equipment. And she goes, "Excuse me," and I go, "You're excused. Now back up." And she goes, "Excuse me, I go, you're excused. Now back up. I don't even know who it is because I'm literally like pushing. And then someone's like, this is Whoopi Goldberg. I said, I don't care who it is. She saw me 3/4 of the way up the ramp. You could have waited 13 more seconds and I would have been done. I said, I'm not going all the way down and going back up again. I said, back the F up. Let me get out of my way. And if you don't like it, go tell everybody in construction who you are, and we'll see how fast this building shuts down. And everybody was like, mm-hmm. And then she went around and walked staring at me the whole time. So I was like, and then that's when I noticed it was Whoopi Goldberg. Like, I just thought it was, I was just yelling at anybody. I'll yell at anybody. Back then I was a hothead. So there you go.
That's awesome. I like that.
Teaching the hard lessons. Yeah.
Back then I was a hardhead. Yeah, that's funny.
I don't even remember what I said about that. I don't remember what I said 5 minutes ago. Doom stole the Beyond His powers in the first Secret Wars. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Okay, when we talk, I'm going to get down to the comments, and then I want to talk specifically about Doom stealing the powers. I think we addressed this already. Are we talking the Beyonder from 1984 or the retcons?
Mostly 1984.
Right?
I mean,
Logic, if you want to come in and tell us more about the retcons, I would like to know more about it. Who is Q? Q is John Delancey, the actor from Star Trek. He's the Q Continuum.
He was in the first episode of Next Generation.
Yeah, he's in the first episode, the last episode, and then he peppers in.
He's he's kind of a not a villain, but kind of like a super powerful confoundance for Picard.
He's like an instigator. And like I said, I never believed that he was evil or bad. I think he was like, he saw the potential and he was like a force for evolution of forcing humans to go to a higher level.
He ended up liking Picard, but Cisco punched him in the face.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not saying he didn't deserve a punch in the face once in a while. Well, Q deliberately had humanity meet the Borg years before, so they would have, yes.
That's true.
He did. There was a rebellion within the Qs. They couldn't take the other power if there was enough. Right. I think they needed a consensus or a majority or whatever. Next idea, Guinan versus that guy over the fence in Tool Time. Anybody versus Guinan wins. I don't care who it is. Or whatever the name of that show. You like my story? It's God's honest truth. God's honest truth. And then once I realized it was her staring at me, I was like, I'm in trouble. And I was getting all mad. I'm like, if anybody doesn't step up and defend me, like this is ridiculous,
Well, I don't know if you really get in trouble. You're just
nothing ever became of it. Buy a copy of the Tao Te Ching. Now pretend you're the Beyonder and you just created a universe that is nothing. Next door to you is a parallel universe full of conflict. That's actually an interesting story. That's an interesting story to make like a comic book story from the perspective of an all-powerful being. Eric the Guapo says, Star Trek, boo. Yeah, I'll say, after once Enterprise ended, that was the end of Star Trek. So, yeah.
Oh, the Enterprise at the end was Scott Bakula?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was the end. That was the parentheses at the end.
He looked a little like my uncle when he was young.
What's interesting is a trickster god would be a god of wisdom in another pantheon. Yeah.
Well, he was a trickster god.
We kind of forget that Loki is a trickster god, but Loki in Norse mythology was Odin's brother, not son like in Marvel Comics. And they hung out together. They relied on and Odin became kind of a trickster god in a certain way. And then Raven Coyote's the trickster god in the national. I was going to say something that was right. So I thought I was caught up in the chat. I think Q was bored and humanity was incredibly interesting due to our incredible spirit. We like to flatter ourselves in our fiction, huh?
So we would go back to. So I think they said that Q started, but I think Trelane was a Q.
Yes,
from the original series.
And
he was a young Q, but he was a Q. You could say they came in at the end, remember, and they were like, "You did bad, no," and he's crying. He's looking.
But I was winning. I was winning.
Yeah, that guy did a great job, and I think he was a Q. I think Peter David wrote that he was a Q. That's
right
not me.
In one of the novels.
I read those novels. I can't tell you. There was a long time ago. I can't remember them, but I did read a couple of Q and Q squared.
Now read the Tao Te Ching. Now, so I just got an order from F in the chat. The Q and Star Trek are virtually omnipotent beings who take human form to interact with us for various reasons, mostly boredom or self-amusement. I will say that Q interacted with the Federation to help the Federation, in a way that, I think Picard over a lifetime would understand that Q was there to help.
Well,
I do think that Q was. I'm not saying the Continuum is a good beneficial, but I think Q was beneficial in the long run.
did anybody watch? I didn't watch Picard. I don't have Paramount.
Yeah, Q
But
from
he
James Bond.
was a big deal in Picard, that Picard series. So I don't know what the end of Q was.
I haven't watched any.
No, I wouldn't watch it either.
I'm still up to the second season of Deep Space Nine. It's terrible. Deep Space Nine, the second season is terrible. I have to power through it because everybody says it gets good when Cisco shaves his head.
Yeah, that I would say that's probably true.
In Star Trek, the original season, a series which is my favorite. I mean, here you go.
But the problem with Deep Space Nine, and you have to get over it in the first two seasons, is they create a space station. Star Trek's not about a space station.
Right, that's what always bothered me.
Wagon train in space. It's to go out and explore.
Right, it's Star Trek. It's not Star Station.
Right, so they had to get used to that. And when he shaved his head, they introduced a ship that goes off the station and does different things. Then it became more like Star Trek.
And this old dirty fatty says Q really did care for humanity. That's what I believe. Trelane was forgotten by new Star Treks who will never know if he was Q or not. People just want their ideas to be correct. Right. But as Marcus was saying, in the Peter David novels, whether you accept them as canon or not, he said Trelane was an immature. Because there were young Q. Because remember Olivia Diablo.
But if you go watch that episode of the original series again and think about Q from the next generation, it makes complete sense. And not only that, Next Generation cribbed from the original series all the time. The whole first two seasons were copies of the original series, which is why the first two seasons aren't any good. They didn't get going until the third season.
And for the chat wasn't giving me, I know I'm messing with you.
That's my feeling about
Space
Next
Nine,
Generation.
the first Trek to showcase the Federation as not being old. Yeah, they brought back a lot.
There's a lot of politics
of like problems with humanity, because problems with humanity create tension and drama, like money, crime, ego and problems like that.
Which happens on a space station that's sitting there like
which I don't know. Maybe they explain it later on, but I don't understand why Quark just can't replicate gold pressed latinum. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to explain to me why.
I don't remember it. I think it was explained. But
this magic machine can make any material you want, except for the one material that can't. I don't know. Maybe it can't be replicated, and thus that is why it's valued. I don't know. Hey, Matthew Creaky, how you doing? Early Next Generation has so many escort missions. Yep. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about the Beyonder, the things I always do on It's Clobbering Time is talk about the character, talk about their stories, talk about their powers, talk about their weaknesses, and all that. But the Beyonder, I think we could all agree his greatest story is the first Secret Wars, and then we have to bring up Secret Wars 2. Those two, I think, are hand in hand in the Beyonder. And one of the memorial parts, like, he's powerful enough to create a planet, bitch slap Galactus, everything, but he gets hosed by Dr. Doom, and Dr. Doom steals his power. Right? So that to me always caused, like, even as a kid reading that from the first time, that was I loved the Secret Wars, but I stopped full on that and I said,
that didn't make any sense.
To me, you couldn't steal Beyonder's power, because to me, that's like saying I am the ocean, and then you steal all the water in the ocean, you become the ocean. Like Dr. Doom should have, like, Beyonder isn't just a mortal frame with vast powers. He is vast power that created this mortal frame. So to steal the Beyonder's powers is you're stealing the Beyonder, and now I'm the Beyonder. You know what I mean? And then to me, logically, you would have just been like, okay, nothing happened. All you really would have done is snuffed out Dr. Doom. But I didn't write the comic, so and whenever I bring that up, I forget who I was discussing that with. They were getting like a little hot under the collar, but that's the way I feel about that. And Might be similar to synthetic versus natural dime. And they did say that replicated alcohol didn't taste as good as regular alcohol. It didn't give you a hangover, so therefore it wasn't as good. So who knows? So if anybody knows why they can't replicate gold plate platinum, please, I live for those nerdy details. Matthew Creaky wants to know if he could mention his comic. Absolutely. Absolutely you can. You could mention your comic. It's all about comics. Mention your comic. I want to know about comics. The replicator, mostly human waste to create. Yeah, so when you're eating that hot fudge sundae, Donna Troy, you're eating the rest of the crewman's poop. That was just molecules just rearranged. John, have I reread Secret Wars? I read up to issue 6 because I was doing the.
We're doing it right. I wanted to get to the end,
and then I stopped because Kelsey he's submerged back into the bayou to regenerate.
The problem with a little worried about Kelsey actually. The problem with Secret Wars, even the first one, is that it started so strong up to issue 6. I watched all those, and then by the end it started to go.
Well, that's the problem that
it was
always
so
have with
hard for the creators to do that book.
I'm just looking at how crazy my hair is, but how difficult it is for people to write Superman, and Superman we could all agree is nowhere near Q or the Beyonder.
Well, the problem
the more powerful the character, the more difficult it is to put a satisfying conclusion.
Shooter really held that book.
His fingers and it's over.
He really held that book with an iron fist. So I mentioned it one time with you and Kelsey, I think, is that Zek did a great job, but Shooter was laying that out like he did when he was a kid. And he would ask for storytelling changes. That's why there's not that many close-ups. Shooter likes the character, you punch, it ends in one panel, not the next panel.
Right.
And so what that does is Shooter, you get a lot of mid shots. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what it ended up being. He ended up redrawing that, and then it became the inker had health issues, and it fell behind. That's why Bob Layton comes in and fills in a couple issues, and then when they start filling it in, then the book gets disjointed. Squadron Supreme is like that. This great book, but the fact that it goes through 3 artists, they're all good, still makes it look more disjointed than, say, Watchmen.
Yeah. Does wearing the Infinity Gauntlet trump the Beyonder? What do you guys think? That's a good question.
Well, the Infinity Gauntlet was part of the Cosmic Cube at one point, right? And they made the Beyonder the Cosmic Cube. So maybe it comes from a similar place.
Right. I would have to say that they're equal.
Yeah.
And I base that just on a gut assumption. So like a human wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, could you take out a Beyonder? I don't know. Does anybody know a story where Phil Moskowitz puts on the Infinity Gauntlet and battles a Beyonder? That'd be interesting. Too bad people are more interested at Marvel to have Johnny Storm have sex with squid aliens than to explore some fun comic book stuff. Do you think the Beyonder let Dr. Doom steal his powers for some plan? To me, that's the only thing that makes sense. Because if the Beyonder could be duped by a human and have his power stolen by a human, that's like a fatal flaw, And yes, we could argue that the Beyonder is a vastly cosmic powered child who just doesn't to bring up Tolkien. I'm also a Tolkien freak. And now I'm going to make myself look foolish because I can't remember the names. But Manwë, who is the king of the earth, he's the king of the Valar. He's the most powerful being in Middle Earth. He rules on the throne. He's the equivalent of Odin or Zeus. He's the god of the skies. When Morgoth said he was sorry and repentant, Manwë had no concept of lying and deviousness. So he just accepted this. Whereas Morgoth was all about lying and deviant. Like Manwë was so good and so pure, and Valinor, nobody lied, nobody was evil to each other. You know what I mean? So he just accepted him. And then the Morgoth, they said, waited 3 ages and then went and got Ungoliant and set everything up. So I think nobody would say that Manwë wasn't powerful. He was just naive. So there's two ways to argue this. Did the Beyonder let Doctor Doom steal his powers for a plan? I don't think so. And I'm not going to say he was weak. I'm just going to say maybe he was just naive and deception and everything like that. To me, that's the only way it makes sense. But to steal the ocean, you become the ocean, and then you lose Marcus Kelligrew, he drowns in the ocean. The Beyonder wasn't a god. He wasn't vast power who created himself. He didn't take the ocean, but we could, okay. Yeah, logic fine. I think you were the one that we were going back and forth with. I love that kind of stuff. You have to write a win. Doom has willpower, so he absorbed the Beyonder instead of the other way around. Yeah, but then I don't know. That's the philosophical problem. Like I would love to have seen, like, what would Grant Morrison have done having Dr. Doom like absorbing the Beyonder, because Grant Morrison and Jim Shooter, they're both awesome, but they both have different weirdo.
Well, Jim Shooter's writing for that age that everybody read. Well, I was a little older.
Yeah, he was writing.
To have those toys, even with the silly shields. That's what he wrote the book for.
He was writing for Mattel. Yeah, I understand.
Almost everybody says, even the most cynical comic reader and Vertigo goes, "Boy, I really love that Secret Wars."
Right.
And the other thing and they do that with G.I. Joe. That G.I. Joe comic was so great. Right. And I'm like, I had a few of them. I'm like, G.I. Joe. That's okay.
So for every purpose, the Secret Wars was successful.
Exactly.
People remember it fondly. It sold toys, and it created so much lore. I mean, Venom came out of it,
Well, yeah, they were able to make a new Spider-Man in case they lost a trademark of Spider-Man.
Says that it was behind the shield, and after he beat Doom, he left the shield. Dr. Doom's tech analyzed the energy of the Beyonder that took the energies the Beyonder used. Okay. I don't remember the particulars, but I'll trust Logic's finest over my crappy memory. Do you think it's more than Kelsey just needing more time alone? I'm a friendly. I know that Kelsey, he does this. He doesn't like social media. He doesn't. And I don't even think he has social media on his phone. I think he has.
I don't think Kelsey has a phone.
And yeah, he has a landline and he has a computer for work. And I know that there's times when, because we've talked, I know there's times when he gets so much work.
That's true.
And he turns off all social media because he gets distracted. And then this time he says he's an extreme introvert and he has to like build up to be on the internet. And sometimes he just gets overwhelmed. And then I also know that there's some family illness. So like I said,
he's not on Greybeards anymore. He's essentially replaced. So
yeah, Shooter instructed Zek to draw everything small to make them look like toys. Yep. Imagine writing Mr. Mxyzptlk as the protagonist. That would be a fun comic book, guys. If like you have Mxyzptlk, Doom, Q, and who else is like an all-powerful being, like the celestial toy maker from Doctor Who, just like all sitting around a table, like they transcend their transcend, not transgen. That's a different character.
Well, we could
transcend their genres and go to this like uber realm. I'm trying to think who else is like one of those type of characters. Rom 72 is my favorite Secret Wars crossover. Great Steve Ditko art. Beyonder cures Rick Jones's cancer. Rom is one of those comics that everybody fondly remembers. It was such a good comic. The Beyonder didn't just create Battleworld. He took parts of several.
Okay. Yes. We said that earlier.
Yeah. Can the Beyonder create his own Infinity Gauntlet?
Beyonder, the problem with these characters, they can really do whatever they want. If Q wanted to create a Video Gauntlet, like they're almost, like you said earlier, they're almost virtually the same character.
Right.
I wonder if Jim Shooter was watching Star Trek one day.
John, I don't think the Beyonder was a god. I don't think so. Because remember I said to be a god, you had to have the three. You had to be omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Whereas the Beyonder was only omnipotent.
Right. He was not
omnipotent. So he was not a god. Same with Q. No, the only one that we could argue might be a god is the Living Tribe, because he's still, as far as I know, has not been defined.
The Living Tribunal, eternity.
Powers he used twice.
He didn't. They never brought eternity into Secret Wars. I wonder why.
Yeah, most people think the only way to write a cosmic power being is to have another cosmic power being on the same power level, which is more important. Yeah, well, Kirk how many cosmic powered beings did Kirk use logic food to defeat?
It's funny. It's funny in the original series, and they're going on, like Graham Nolan has a show going over the original series, that 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 Spock was super logical, but it was really Kirk that used the logic.
Right.
It wasn't all action. He had more action than Picard.
Well,
he could talk his way out just as much as
Kirk
Picard could.
Kirk is a Mary Sue, if you ask me. Kirk is a Mary Sue to a certain extent, but Kirk is the way I always looked at it. It was Spock is the embodiment of logic, and Bones, he's a doctor. He's body. He's emotion. He's body. He's material. He's here and now.
Yeah.
And it was one angel on. So this is emotion on one shoulder, Bones, and this is logic on the other shoulder. And then Kirk was the perfect man.
I don't know if I see him as a Mary Sue. I see him more as
logic and emotion, and that's
Kirk is a Captain America type, like
right.
Superman. Like he was an upstanding, good guy, even though he slept with all the girls, but he wasn't married, so
that's another fallacy.
And then, he didn't really sleep with all the girls. That's true. You're right about that. You're right.
Kirk never slept with any woman that he had authority over. Except for Dr. Noel, and that was the whole point of that. The second episode of Star Trek was dealing with the fact that Kirk did it, and that's he realized he made a mistake. She realized they made a mistake.
You're right about that.
And then they both recognized that they had feelings from each other, but they shouldn't explore it because it was wrong.
But that's interesting because that didn't stop Roddenberry from having affairs.
Yeah, well,
he was an affair with
better than Roddenberry.
He was having an affair with Uhura, and he was married to the computer. I mean,
Yeah. But Mr. Mixelplick could erase them both from existence with that. So Mixelplick, you're arguing is even.
Is Mixelplick more powerful than Q and Beyonder? Think about it. Mixelplick's almost the same character, except he's
right. Mixelplick is pretty much the same character.
And
Beyonder wasn't the Ocean John. So I guess I just have to disagree because the Beyonder is not just a being with vast power. He is that vast power. That's why I argue. But come on in, Logic. Come on in. Get your camera on. If you wanted to. I guess I missed the first part of that. The other cosmic being.
Did Matthew say what his comic was?
Yeah, Matthew, you didn't tell us what your comic was.
Because he tells your comic and where it's at. I'll look for it and post a link.
Zach 10 says, "No, Marcus, do not become the ocean. Savor your humanity."
Oh God,
I'm
all too human.
Beyonder destroyed death. He turned the galaxy into a utopia. He beat death.
Yes, he did. He beat death. Yes.
What God hasn't done?
Yeah, that was a problem.
I don't know. I love Doom. I love Doom. And Kevin, remember me and you sitting on that couch reading that episode where Doom made the armor out of his girlfriend's skin? Oh God.
I like Doom. I don't like all this other stuff they made Doom do. I don't like Doom being a member of the Fantastic Four.
No, Doom.
I don't like reading about the Fantastic Four, and Doom is one of the protagonists instead of the antagonist. Right. This is the issue at the end of Doom. Again, it's like the Magneto issue. Once they linked Magneto to the Holocaust, that was the impetus to turn him good, because Claremont had that idea. That was not something Lee and Kirby did. But they didn't have to do that stuff with Doom. Doom is Doom.
Oh, John, I have to reread all of Secret Wars. I'll reread Secret Wars, but I am not rereading Secret Wars 2, Logic. You're not getting me to reread Secret Wars 2. That was bad enough.
Well, you were supposed to have read Secret Wars 2, but that got way late. Secret Wars, that got...
Sometimes you need to recharge. Bill Cipher is like that for Gravity Falls. I don't know who that is. Is that a cartoon?
It's a cartoon. I don't know much about it either.
I don't know what Gravity Falls is. Captain Kirk? Kirk was supposed to be the balance between... Yes.
Right, that's right.
Kirk was if people always forget, and in all the remakes of Star Trek, they always make Kirk as this sporto jock guy. But there's a couple of episodes, like one of my favorite episodes is The Conscience of the King, and Kirk's talking about reading Shakespeare and how he loved this one professor, and he would stay up all night reading, scholarly works and being a nerd, and other guys would. Look at Finnegan. Finnegan was beating him up for being a nerd. If you remember that episode, oh my God, Finnegan. If anybody knows that episode that I'm talking about, where the Irish guy comes and just fights with, He is my most hated character of all of fiction. Oh my God, do I hate Finnegan? I hated him since I was a kid. You better back this up better. Okay. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Don't,
I know. I'm lonely. Why am I?
come on
I'm
in.
thinking
All
to be
powers
back.
without the wisdom would be a story of tragedy unless
I
that's
don't mind being on screen.
right. I agree. How dare you attack my James Kirk? I take it back. Captain Kirk is probably my favorite fictional character of all time, but and that's why in issue 2 of Heroic Tales, I have a character named Mary Sue because I don't particularly think it's a bad thing to be a Mary Sue. I love Kirk. Logic is going to give me the Kirk smash. He's just going to come.
Right.
I'm going to be walking. Also, he's going to jump up behind me and slightly miss my shoulder, but I'm going to do a tumble into a wall that's going to shake because that's how powerful Kirk was. Kirk hit you, and the walls on the Enterprise shook when the extra hit the wall.
Hey.
Kirk had too many flaws to be a Mary Sue. Yeah. But as far as I know, the term Mary Sue came from Captain Kirk because there was a fan fiction by I forget the name of the woman, but she wrote fan fiction, and her character was Mary Sue Kirk, the daughter of Captain Kirk, and this woman's name was Mary Sue. I don't know her last name, and Mary Sue Kirk was the most beautiful woman. She was the smartest woman. She was the best fighter. She could pilot the Enterprise. She could outmaneuver Q or whatever. And everybody else on the Enterprise existed to tell her how good she was. And that's where we get the term of a Mary Sue from. So not only was Kirk the original Mary Sue, he's the father of all Mary Sues. I'm just starting with Logic's finest tonight. So how is Kirk a Mary Sue? Because, he could outfight a Klingon. He could
outfight Spock.
He could beat up a Klingon. He could beat up a Vulcan. He could But I lovingly say that. I don't get mad. I love Kirk.
He beat the Gorn.
I mean, I to show this, I got the Star Trek colors. There's Command Gold. There's blue and red. I'm a full-on Captain Kirk fan. I wear my Kirk shirt every once in a while. I got my communicator right here. All within.
Oh, we all have communicators now.
I know.
Isn't this the most amazing thing that Star Trek?
It's a mother box.
It's a mother box. That's right. Let me put it on my shoulder. It is a mother box. It really is.
It is because we could call it Uber, which is just a slow boom tube. It's Mix L Spitalik. I'll take your word for it. I could never pronounce his name, and that's why I don't like the character. If I can't pronounce a character's name, I can't make it.
Yeah, but that was worked into the character. They had to say it
right.
backwards.
It was supposed to be unpronounceable, and
that was a trick.
I think Mixie is close. You see, just say Mixie. I think Mixie is closer to a Q than a Beyond. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
And sometimes it wasn't even good and bad, but between logic and emotion, Bones was right. Yeah, Bones was right sometimes. Spock was wrong. The best episode with Spock was wrong was the Galileo 7. Right? That whole episode was to show you that
he would make a bad
captain.
I have this free TV. I could watch these.
I'm having an affair with Aurora really wrong.
No, but
if it is,
the story
then I don't want to
is
be right.
the story is, and I learned this from Graham in this watching the show, is that Roddenberry was having an affair with Nichelle Nichols, and she was paid like $1,000 an episode, way more than everybody else because of that.
Right, it was hush
money.
And
that's why, like early on, she's in it an awful lot. But Star Trek had a lot of budgetary problems because they were doing things that nobody's ever did before, and they had to pull it back and not have her in as much because they were paying her too much money.
I think Roddenberry's son walked into their office and saw them together and walked out. I think he wrote that one of his books.
I think that's true.
Kirk was the leader, hero, good guy, but he was never the all-knowing, everything.
But he did sleep with Batgirl, so there's that.
Oh, there you go, Yvonne.
The green character was Batgirl.
Not bad for ugly little. I mean, he looked like Chekhov. Doom is a nation's ruler, not a teammate. Yes.
Poor Chekhov. I like Chekhov.
Yarma isn't power. He uses power. He's not a god. We just disagree. Okay. We you know what we'll get that blade and that ball on a stick, and we'll battle it out at next Pon Far.
That's right. Pon Far. We'll have the music.
He's got logic in his name, so he's probably going to beat me. Secret Wars 2 is hard to get through. Yes, I'm loving the comment. I'm trying to get caught up. No, Magneto was basically the evil dictator in his first. Yes, we forget his first appearance. He was freaking taking over a military base to steal bombs. You know, that whole civil rights thing really didn't apply until like 20 years later. Finnegan was annoying, but Ed's more complex. Yes, it shows you that Kirk was picked on. You know, we all of these new Trek, they completely don't get Kirk. They think he was the jock guy, you know, the football hero and stuff. No, Kirk was a nerdy guy who blossomed under command.
The new Trek, like the Discovery's Trek, that's been they think that Kirk is toxic masculinity, and they don't put even in if they have a list of captains, they don't even put Kirk or William Shatner in there.
Right.
They put Spock in instead.
But they all love Riker. And Riker, to me, is a disgusting person. Riker, his shift is over. He goes to 10 forward, starts hitting on all his ensigns.
Well, that's true, but he wasn't the captain either.
But he was he was the next in command. He might as well have been the captain.
He had a long-standing affair with Troy, you know.
Right, and she was a subordinate to him. It should never have happened.
Well, I think they started that before they were subordinate to him.
Right, but
by the time on the ship, they weren't. When they started Next Generation, they weren't together at that point.
Kirk, like I said, I think it was Dagger of the Mind's Eye was the name of that episode. I think that the whole purpose of that is to show you that Kirk, you know, and that's why he was mad that he had that Yalman Rand, because he started to get attracted to it. A subordinate.
They wanted Riker to be the rogue, you know, and they went a little too far because they wanted the setup was the original Star Trek was supposed to be they have the captain, and you'll see this in the original before they hired William Shatner, that the captain stays on the ship and the first officer takes the landing party. But once they hire Shatner's, oh no, I'm part of the landing party. I'm doing all the action. Right. Somebody else do that. So when they went to Next Generation, that's why Picard was on the ship all the time and said, make it so, because that's really his job.
Right.
Other people he's supposed to tell other people what to do as captain.
Right. It's not is the hero not supposed to be a good guy? Yeah. Well, yeah. He's supposed to, yeah. But yeah. The first I heard that term was for Ray Skywalker. Yeah, I think that's what really made it popular in modern parlance.
I think so. That's the first time.
That's what Ray is the same as Mary Sue Kirk. There's that one meme of her in the Millennium Falcon. You know, like they show up, you know, Han Solo pilot, Luke hero, Obi-Wan advisor, you know, R2D2 information and all that, and then they show the new Millennium Falcon Ray pilot, you know, wisdom fighter, and everybody else just compliments Mary Sue, compliments Ray. So yeah, I didn't explain that well. I always looked at Kirk as someone who just doesn't give up. Kind of like I love Kirk. You know, like I said, he's my favorite. I had to list. I forget where it was, but we listed our top 5 favorite fictional characters, and Kirk was number 1 on the list. I love Kirk. Kirk couldn't sustain a relationship. He didn't see his son growing up. He was restricted to his desk job as an admiral. Yeah, that's later on. Yep, and that always bothered me. That like he didn't know he had the son, right? Like did he?
No,
right. He didn't know he had the son, and then the son resented him. But it's like, dude, man, nobody told me.
You know, I know that, but that's a trope that everybody uses.
It's more of a term applied to SJW characters. They don't usually apply it themselves. Yeah. Oh, so here's Night Slayers is on Kickstarter now. Oh, Marcus, you want to find the link?
Let's see if it'll let me do the link.
Every time a woman is a Mary Sue, it's progressive. Every time it's Mary Sue, it's tough.
No.
Well,
the Kickstarter. Let me
Mary
try
Sue, Mary Sue in issue 2 of Heroic Tales. So
what's the deal with why Kickstarter's links are very long, by the way. So sometimes it's really difficult to post this Kickstarter link. But I'll try again.
Kickstarter links are really weird. So here we go.
Thank you.
Yep. Kickstarter, a paranormal investigation comic.
I'm gonna try again.
And then it looks like this finishes it off, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But it is on Kickstarter. It's right here. I'm looking at it.
Put it in the private chat, and I'll bring it up.
All right, I'm gonna see.
But anyway,
I just shortened
we're
it. I'm
talking
gonna
about
see if that'll work.
what's
I
that?
don't know. Did it work?
If you put it in the private chat, then I could click on it. I can't click on it when it's in
Okay. I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeoman Ram was only in 8 episodes. Grace Lee Whitney was sexually harassed by someone at the studio and she left. Yeah, and I heard the rumor that it was Roddenberry, and she never really wanted to talk about it. And what's her name? Terry Garr. Is she still alive? I know she has multiple sclerosis.
I
but
think
Terry
she's
Garr
alive.
just adamantly didn't want to talk about Star Trek for years. So I think that something similar happened to her, and I based that on absolutely nothing but my gut feeling.
Her best role was in Young Frankenstein, though.
Yeah. So here's the Night Slayers. This is
well, there it is.
let me. Oh, I want to get that comment. You're a Star Trek fan. I clicked. It works. Okay. So this is the Night Slayers. Let's take a look at this for a second. Here you go. Solve the mystery. Survive the night. There you go.
Pretty cool.
Cool. Black or white. And all of a sudden, okay, there we go. My mouse just stopped working for a second. Rewards. Cool. Let's go back to the top.
Well,
you got 7 backers. Nice. Good for you. Oh, and it looks like you just got another backer. Good. You owe me $7.
That's how you got to do it.
Old Dirty Fatty says, I believe you were right about Terry Garr. She was in the Doctor Who episode, right? That what was that called? The name of that episode? All of Our Tomorrows or something like that. And it was basically Doctor Who, the time traveler, Mr. Seven, with a hot chick companion.
I like that episode. It was like it's like the backdoor pilot for other characters,
right? But it was basically let's make an American Doctor Who.
Not really a bad idea.
Yeah, and I heard rumors that Grace Whitney. I'm sorry, I'm saying her name wrong. Grace Lee Whitney, when she left, she bottomed out and became like a bad drug addict and became like literally a street walking prostitute, for a while, and then cleaned herself up. Terrible. I'll always remember when Charlie Seven slapped her in the butt. In that episode, Charlie Seven. Now that's another question: is Charlie Seven a Q? And did Gary? Did he become a Q? Gary in the second pilot episode. She's still alive and kicking. Yeah, I know she has multiple sclerosis.
Did you ever see the Byrne comic that he did with Gary 7?
No, but
there's a whole bunch of IDW Star Trek comics.
If you go on YouTube and you look up Star Trek Gods and Monsters, it's a Star Trek fan film, but it stars Grace Lee, whoever you say her name, Chekhov, a couple of the other actors, and all of these people got together and made a Star Trek movie that is awesome. And it's Gary 7. I mean, it's Gary from the pilot episode versus Charlie X. That's the premise of it. It's awesome. It's one of the best Star Trek movies, and they all got together and put in like $100,000 and made a Star Trek movie, and the star is Chekhov, Captain Chekhov, and
I think I heard of that.
One more pledge. I'm glad to help you, Matthew.
Maybe Matthew should be on your show and he can explain it and get some.
Come on the show. So let's get back. Focus back.
I didn't mean to
Grace Lee Whitney. I always say Grace Lee Whitney Jones, and I know it's wrong. Burns Gary 7 Star Trek was amazing. Is it a comic? Like
it's a comic. Burns' last comics that he drew were Angel, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, historical, going back in the history of World War II, and a bunch of Star Trek comics.
Oh, I didn't know. I know he really likes Star Trek.
He wasn't making any money at IDW, but he wanted to do these stories. He made some money, page rate or something.
So anyway, so now we have, universes colliding. I don't know what would attract a Q to the Beyonder. Like, it's already understood that the Beyonder is watching and big events could. So I would postulate that at the all good things must come to an end at the end of Next Generation. That the paradox of the time, I could see that attracting Q's attention, the Beyonder's attention, and now we have a direct confrontation between, because the Q set up this paradox, so Picard could see beyond time and push humanity to the next level, and now the Beyonders getting involved, and now the Beyonder and Q are throwing down. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Oh, we got RRTNZ going away and say the Beyonder for overall power, but Q is smarter and wouldn't fall for Doom's trick that allowed him to steal. I have to say I agree that I don't think Q would fall for Doom's trick. I think Q would be amused by Doom. But I think the Beyonder was too naive. Those Photoshop comics Bird did were really rough. So Q wins. Charlie X wasn't a Q. Gary 7 was a human from Earth who was taken to another planet and biologically altered. Yes. Yeah. And that's the premise of Gods and Monsters. Is Gary 7 whatever his name is. Gary 7 was that pilot. Well, Gary was the from the pilot episode who got the power with Sally Kirkman. I can't remember. Yeah, but that character from the pilot episode versus Charlie X. No, did they ever try to steal Kirk's face or looks? Not that I know of. Why did anybody steal his face? No, not that I know of. Q senses the Q power level and is curious. Okay. Q would dissipate the substance he's made of. That's so just go away. Q met the Watcher in the Star Trek Next Generation novel Planet X. How did that go? I love the Watcher. I was going to make a fan theory that crossover. Oh, I see. And then they make a mask and he becomes the Beyonder power source. You could trick the Beyonder all you want. He'll shrug it off because he's a god. Well, Logic Finest will take umbrage with that remark. But so what do we think? Marcus, what do you think? Beyonder has more power?
I think that Q wins. I think that Q's too smart for the Beyonder. The Beyonder's is more like Trelane, the child Q, who's really powerful and kind of gets off on making the humans do all this stuff and try to, although he's a little not quite as goofy, like he wanted to learn from the humans. He might be just as powerful, but he's definitely not as smart as a John Delancey. Q, who could go mind for mind with Picard, who was pretty bright as he learned.
Right.
So I think even if Q, and who knows about the power level, I mean, all about the same. I think he's smarter, more intelligent, more cunning, more experienced than the Beyonder. He's been in that human form. If we're thinking of them in human form longer, if we think of him as corporeal form, who knows? Like the Beyonder continuum and the Q continuum. But I think that the characters, as we see them, I think Q would win.
I think Q would win. I don't know who is more powerful, but I think Q is more devious, and I think Q is more strategic, and Q is more patient for long-term goals. I mean, if you take all of Next Generation, 7 seasons, he set it up in the first episode, tied it up in the last episode, and then goaded them to the results that he wanted. I think the Beyonder is more immediate self-gratifying. You remember the Beyonder just got fat because he liked the way food was, so he got, the Beyonder,
right.
Beyonder liked women. So next thing you know, he's I was about to say Sherlock Holmes when I meant to say how, what's his name? The guy who did Playboy. What the hell's the guys who did Playboy magazine? Hugh Hefner.
Oh, Hugh Hefner, yeah.
So I think the Beyonder is more short term, whereas Q, I think he'll set up a long-term plan and patient and do it. Like that the episode where he was in Picard's dreams and the Picard went back in time and realized Picard, it was the Picard taking the risks is what made him a better captain. And then he sees himself in a blue shirt and nobody's taking him, Mr. Picard, and they all like laugh at him behind his back.
Right.
I think Q understands human nature, subtleties, and emotions and strategy a lot better than the Beyonder. If the Beyonder could be usurped by Doom, then the Q could definitely trick Beyonder into being defeated. I'm not going to argue with that. Q and every other member of the Continuum have all showed things far more powerful than the Beyonder. You think so? They changed time. Has the Beyonder ever went back? I don't think. I know someone's going to correct me, but has the Beyonder ever went back in time and things like that? But Q has. The Beyonder Secret Wars 2 almost conclusively shows that Beyonder lacks wisdom to go with his powers and humans manage. Absolutely. Q learns how humans think and quick manipulates them. I even think, I'll go on record as saying that episode where Q lost his powers, I'll even go say that was like part of the Continuum just messing with humans.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I think that there's like a meta story to that. Like if I was to write Next Generation, I would be like, that was Q was never really in any danger or anything like that. Like I would even say that Q is messing with that freaking holodeck. Every episode of that holodeck was, vastly powerful. If I was in the Federation, first thing I'd do is like disconnect the holodeck. It's always you go into a holodeck, next thing you know, you fight Moriarty or cleaning it up after Riker.
Or
spewed all over
everything. Making himself a girlfriend,
Yeah. Beyonder in time will know where. Yeah, Beyonder in time, if, because we already saw that the Beyonder can lose his powers and then potentially be killed, In the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, the Beyonder goes back in time to save the multiverse. I didn't know that. I didn't watch the 90s cartoons. Beyonder has no desire or need to defeat. He just wants to understand. Okay.
My son watched that, but I don't remember it.
And I think Q has no desire or need for defeat or whatever. I think Q is almost like a mentor or a teacher. I think they have different desires. Q could summon a mariachi band. Okay, yeah, there you go. He could do that. Yeah, but the Beyonder could potentially dance like Michael Jackson. So you got that.
There you go.
So there you go. I'm of the opinion that Q would be more devious and tricky and just manipulate the Beyonder into a victory. If it came out to all out just power blasts at each other, I really don't know. But I think like a sustained tactical battle, Q would win. What do you think?
I think Q would win.
Living Tribunal will come in and mop the floor with the Q to protect the Beyonder.
But the Beyonder killed the Living Tribunal.
Did he?
Yep.
Oh.
So he's supposed to be more powerful than the Living Tribunal.
Biggest, well, I want $1 million more than anybody else, but if I don't have the ability to get it, I think Q has the wily craftiness to defeat the Beyonder. Q doesn't just time travel; he controls time itself. He created stars, black holes, changed reality. Yet it's true. He more powerful than anything than the Beyonder has done. If you can't destroy a universe, you can't destroy the Beyonder. I don't know like the limits of the Beyonder's power, but I do know that Q is crafty, patient, devious, and I think that trumps a lot. I mean, look at like, I'm trying to think of like a lesser powered superhero is beaten other, because of planning.
Well, Captain America often beats more powerful than he is, and he always says, "I've beaten tougher people than
this
you."
comment always gets me mad. Oh, I hate this comment. This is it all depends on who the writer wants. Yeah, I know.
Well, that goes without saying.
Yeah, the Beyonder is a universe.
That's baked in the cake.
What about the one above all? Well, the one above all is a celestial, and the Beyonder beat all the celestials, right?
That's right.
But you say he beat the Living Tribunal?
That's what it said.
What? Was that
When I was reading up on the Beyonder, it said he beat the Living Tribunal.
Oh, there you go.
I can double check when.
Oh, so there you go. Anybody disagree? That what do we think? Q, we calling this one for Q?
I'm calling it for Q.
Dr. Doom analyzed and took the Beyond. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No human ever smacked down a Q. The Q got defeated by other Q. And when Q set up games, Picard didn't defeat Q. He just won the game. You know what I mean? Like it's not like Q was like, those humans defeated me. Like, no, Q set up a game and set up the rules, everything like that. And Picard basically ran through the labyrinth that like a mouse and got the cheese that Q put them there. So I don't think Q ever got defeated by a human. The Beyonder would just become Picard, then smack Q down. There you go. Or become Cisco and punch him. Or become 7 of 9 and take her clothes off. Does the Marvel Universe have some incarnation of the Abrahamic God? As far as I know, they shy away from that. Like DC has
not really.
Marvel always seems to have like more of a cosmic eye on God. Like the closest they come to God in Marvel is the Living Tribunal, as far as I know, or the Living Tribunal answers to the living God or whatever.
The characters sometimes refer to God, but they don't have they barely even said any religious for their characters. I mean,
right.
What's real? We just know about Ben Grimm pretty much, and that's about it.
But I know DC talks about like basically the Spectre as the hand of God, and they're more like biblical.
Although Marvel has about 7 different devils.
Yeah,
Mephisto.
You could call it for Q. Okay, F in the chat is calling it for Beyonder. Okay, that's what fixed. If on my mouth, if Doom could steal the Beyonder's power, then Q could run rings around him. That's a hard obstacle to defeat. You know, Beyonder got defeated, but Doom is no mere mortal. I heard a rumor that Jesus was revealed in Marvel to be a mutant. Yeah, they kind of hinted at that. Jesus showed up, or as they called him, the Friend showed up in Ghost Rider. Kirby
that was that. Yeah, Jim Shooter didn't like that storyline.
Kirby is God, the FM. Yeah,
I remember that.
But they all have heaven and hell for Ghost Rider. Yeah. The DC God Yahweh from the Lucifer series was known as the Presence, though he's on vacation at the moment. Yep. They probably want the universe so that the audience member yes, I think that's the best way to do it. I agree, Zach Tan, that of course I'm going to refer to my comic because that's what I do, but in my comic book I have a whole cosmology written out that I'll explain over time. And I remember one guy, because I put it on my website that Marcus put up, the Villains Vigilantes forum, and some stranger got offended that I categorized, and I'm like, sorry, I wasn't trying to hurt anybody's feelings. It's just me categorizing things based on inspired by Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Yeah, Marvel has what's her name? That's Sabret. That's a hot dog.
Sabra, I think.
Sabra. Yeah. The Israeli hero Sabret, a hot dog. The Village Vigilantes forum, and this is back up now, and it looks better. Bat might. There's another character. Bat might Mixelplick.
Oh,
the Great Gazoo yonder.
God bless them.
They should all be like, make a comic with all of those characters like hanging out. I think Q would win, but it would not be a conventional victory. Beyonder might just grow bored and leave. I think the craftiness of Q would
the experience, the craftiness, the fact that he's been
the patience. I don't think Beyonder has ever really displayed patience. And do you pronounce theater as the tree? I don't get that. The Aquabats would win. Do you pronounce Aquabats, old punk band that dress up in like? Do I pronounce theater as the tree? I don't get it. I'm a Christian, but I don't mind reading fiction. Yeah. again, I like what Marvel does is they use they make them look like cosmic beings that can be interpreted any way you want, because I think not that it's more respectful, but it's like it's more superhero-y, yeah. So there you go. So we have one person who was it that said calls it for the Beyonder. I'm scrolling down. F in the chat says he's calling it for the Beyonder, but I think all us normal sane people call for Q.
That's not right.
So what do you guys think for next week? I have given it zero thought. What do we want to do for the next battle?
I'd like to involve the Metal Men, but I don't know who they would go against. I think people seem to like the Metal Men. I don't know if you like the Metal Men.
The Metal Men versus the Impossibles. Sane people think they're sane. That's true.
I like these different ones. We can always say, well, Iron Man versus Dr. Doom, because they both wear armor, and they've done it in the comics. We don't really want to do that.
I kind of like it like cross universes.
I do too.
Because we've seen that comic where Dr. Doom fights Iron Man.
Right. Exactly.
So who would be a good choice? Hong Kong Phooey versus Iron Fist.
I loved Hong Kong Phooey when I was a kid.
The Fantastic Four versus the Incredibles.
I don't know. After what they just did to the Human Torch and the Fantastic Four, that's been all over Twitter today and yesterday, I'm not so sure I want to have anything to do with the Fantastic Four. Did you see that, John?
Yeah.
That's really distressing. That stuff is really distressing. It is. It makes me cry inside,
It's people who don't love the characters.
But it has an Alex Ross cover. Do you realize it has an Alex Ross?
You think cover? Alex Ross knew what was going to happen inside?
No. If you saw his cover, you have no idea. It's a wonderful cover, right?
That's like Alex Ross. Reed Richards' face, right?
No, it's beyond that one, but that has something to do with the story. But it's a different cover. No, it's not that one.
Batmite versus the Impossible Man. What about Jamie Braddock? He's another one. Right? Isn't Jamie Braddock
the multiple man?
Nothing in the past 5 years is canon.
Yeah, Zach Tan. No kidding.
Please tell us what's happening in the FF. The Human Torch is laying on a rooftop using light powers. Where did he get light powers from? Like
with a weird Fu Manchu.
Yeah, with this real. I almost said a bad word. Fu Manchu.
70s. Yeah, it looks like
like a porn stash.
Joe Namath stash.
He's making twinkling lights, flirting with this.
This centipede,
like a human centipede,
not even human, a centipede,
a mix between Close Encounters of the Third Kind and a centipede.
Yes,
flirting, and then the alien goes, "I want to kiss you," and he goes like, "Oh, I want to kiss you." And next thing you know, they're like,
there's a tentacle in his mouth. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Next thing you know, skyrockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
Oh,
the unstoppable juggernaut versus the unmovable.
They use
the original authors are working on it. Any of the original authors working on it? Of what? Of Marvel now? No, they don't have anybody. Like the closest they have is like J.M. DeMatteis will do like a Magneto series for 4 issues.
What Marvel does is that they're newish writers. Now I know Mike's Total Dragon channel says Ryan North's FF has been good. So I know I spoke Logic's finest. Sorry.
I will catch up. I have to catch up to the Fantastic Four.
That being said, what they do is they let their writers and all these could do all this crazy stuff, and they bring in Peter David and J.M. DeMatteis to do an untold tale from 20 years ago about the black Spider-Man costume or something. And I read that. That was good. That was good. It's Peter David. It's a good comic. Even if it's not great, Peter David.
What about General Zod versus that sidekick to Hercules, whose tactical superpowers even he has Hulk power? I don't know the character. I don't know the character. Well, the only goal is to subvert and destroy. Auntie May versus Lois Lane. You know, Aunt May's gonna kick anybody's ass. That woman survived like so many traumas. She's like,
and she got hotter over the years too. She's hot in the movies. So
yeah. What about Proteus? I've always liked Proteus, but the whole metal weakness, that's it. He's gonna get killed.
yeah, I love those comics. I read that.
Those are so good. They were scary.
Judge Dredd and the Punisher. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, Judge Dredd and the Punisher. You want to go with Judge Dredd and the Punisher, everybody? Let's Aunt May fortified by wheat cakes. Wasn't that in a fake advertisement? Was right? That made me laugh. Judge Dredd versus the Punisher. What do we think about that? Now I don't know much about the Judge Dredd. So guys, if we do this one, I'm gonna have to ask somebody else to step up. I could talk about the Punisher till the cows come home.
I read a lot of Judge Dredd, but the issue with the Judge Dredd is, does Joe Dredd Joe? His first name is Joe. Does he have a history, or he's just a character without continuity, where they just have it's a British comic weekly, so they just keep going with it. We have a lot of continuity in our comic.
First Dredd sounds good,
but I'd have to look that up.
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying. That's exactly
virtually
what we're saying.
Yes.
Good thing nobody uses metal for weapons. Punisher versus. All right, we got three.
Let's do it. I mean, I'll look it up and see.
Next week we'll do Punisher versus Dredd. See, I don't know. I can't answer these questions. I think I have I figured out the other night I have 188. I always say I have 150 long boxes, but it turns out I have 188 long boxes of comics, and I literally have 4 floppy comics of Judge Dredd. So
I love Judge Dredd. When Eagle Comics came out, on that time in 81, 82, 83, when comic stores were just open, I was buying anything
Barry Mitchell
that looked like a comic. That's why I got all those Pacific comics and Nexus and First Comics, and Eclipse Comics, and
I think
Judge Eagle Comics. We love Judge Dredd. It's the great fascist. What England thought America was Judge Dredd.
See, I didn't know that until a week or two ago.
Judge Dredd is really a parody.
Judge Dredd is set in future America. I didn't know that.
Megalopolis.
Gary Mitchell. That is the name of the character. Gary Mitchell fights Charlie X in Star Trek Gods and Monsters.
Mega City 1 is like New York, and instead of being in apartments, they go way up into the sky, like as big as the Empire State Building, but they're all apartments. Everybody's packed in.
Right.
And they just have these miserable lives, kind of like way it's going now. We're getting to that point, right? And then in California is another mega city, and in between is the cursed earth,
right?
Because of the nuclear war. But everybody's nobody owns anything.
Well, from what little I know of Dredd, he can't be vigilante because he's sanctioned by the government.
Nope, he's not. Yeah. It's fascist police. He's a police.
As I said, I don't follow current comics at all. Marvel died to me 19. Well, you're even hardcore for me because Marvel I ended in 2015. I took that third Secret Wars as the end point. I got to watch the Dredd movie. Maybe I'll watch it this week.
I am the law.
Does anybody have a Dredd omnibus or trade paperback to recommend? So I'm going down on a limb here, guys. We're going to do a Clobbering time about a character I don't know much about.
People took Dredd really seriously, as American comic people do, but it's really a parody of what the British. And if you think of it that way, all the British writers who came over, and this doesn't mean they're bad or good. We're talking Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, all of them don't really understand true American superheroes. That's why they always subvert them and decompose.
Oh, how about martial law first?
But martial law is a Judge Dredd character.
Yeah, martial law versus Judge.
I don't know that much about martial law, but I had a couple of them.
From Dredd is pure awesome, very close to the law. Okay.
That's the one.
Dredd is the opposite of it. Yeah, he's legally empowered as judge, jury. He gets sentenced to walk his spot on the Dredd is a parody. Yeah.
People, yeah.
Judge Dredd Origins. Do you know what company it is? What point me in the right direction? I really don't have much.
It's Eagle Comics, and then they were reprinted in another comic. Let me see.
What about the other Marvel Reality Warmers? Kubrick, man, Jim Jasper. Yeah, Jim Jaspers. He was from Excalibur and Captain Britain.
Hey, what about
Predator? Dredd is the opposite of Vigilante. Oh, yeah, I already read that.
Yeah, it's definitely.
How about Craven versus the Predator?
Judge Joseph Dredd.
Is that his real name? I didn't know that.
Joe Dredd, yeah, I
Judge
remember
Dredd
that.
published by two. Yes, I know that. I know
Carlos and
that. But is there just like a trade?
Mega City 1, which covers most of the East Coast of North America. He is a street judge. The rest convict, sentence, execute.
Oh, this is as limited as I know about Judge Dredd. It's so easy to come up with a scenario. The Punisher just goes into Mega City 1 and kills somebody.
The issue is that Judge Dredd will kill a jaywalker,
right?
Or you'll get knocked around at the very least if you're not killed. It is the ultimate fascist. It's created by Pat Mills, John Wagner, and really, and Carlos Escoerza, but really like artists like Brian Boland really cut his teeth on Dredd.
Martial law really was the boys before the boys. You're right about that. I liked martial law, even though like that crazy. Why can't I think of the artist?
Kevin O'Neill.
The crazy Kevin O'Neill art was a little jarring, but I really liked it because it was an original character that was made like that. But I wouldn't have liked it if they had taken, say, Captain America or somebody and turned it into the boys. That's why I don't like Dark Knight Returns, but I do like The Watchmen because and I probably wouldn't have liked The Watchmen if they used the Charlton characters, because they're kind of like, I don't want to see blue sky characters turned into grim and gritty.
Judge Dredd is hard to draw too, by the way. The Punisher is a lot easier. Judge Dredd
book style omnibus. Okay. If anybody wants to put comments in this video of like a definitive Judge Dredd for me to read,
I'm just scanning the Wikipedia. That would probably help you out, and it tells you what.
8 weeks no pay. I don't have any money on comics.
No, I'm not telling you to buy it. That's for sure.
Yeah. This insurance, stop dragging your feet, buddy. Stop dragging. They promised on Monday.
You could pirate them, but I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying.
There was Batman versus Dredd, Scarecrow versus Mysterio.
This is the problem with Batman is that they treat Batman like he's Dredd. That's one of the issues with Batman. Like even this new Absolute Batman, that's like Dredd. Batman's not supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner. He's just supposed to catch the bad guys.
Can Q create a boulder so heavy that he himself can't lift it? Yeah. I didn't see the movie. I never saw the movies.
The second movie's supposed to be good. The first movie,
the Keith Urban one, right? Is that the name of the actor?
That's supposed to be good. You're never supposed to see his face, so
yeah. And he didn't mind. He kept the helmet on.
Yeah, I know.
I know that the Sylvester Stallone one. That always bothered me. Tobey Maguire was ripping off that Spider-Man mask.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that either. But he did a good job as Spider-Man. But they all take off the masks. Nobody wants to be in the masks.
Absolute Batman is good. Okay. So there we go. So next week we'll do Judge, because I know that came up a few times and I kind of dodged it because I'm not familiar with the character. So
I don't even have the comics and stuff anymore. Sometimes I have a graphic novel or two I can flip through, but I do go online and look at some. Just to remind you guys,
somebody's got to step up and come in here and help me and Paul.
We had Shadow Punk. It's great to have 3 or 4 people. When we had 4 people at that closeout, it was so much fun. Then when there's only 2 people, we step all over each other for 2 hours.
Right. I like 4 people the max. I think 4 people.
Oh no, it's when you watch a 10-person or 6.
I hate being on them.
You end up with 3 people not saying a word.
I sit there.
I love watching Comics Gate Kings, right? Because I love all those guys. I know a lot of them, and there's always like Graham Nolan.
Yeah, what am I going to say?
They just don't say everything, and then
I'll go on Matt Barr's.
Pretty good at bringing people in, but when there's 10, it's too many.
I'll go on Matt Barr's awesome show on Mondays, but I kind of duck out before there's 900 people because.
I noticed that. Yeah, sometimes.
Well, I got game nights on Monday nights, so I can only show up for a half hour. But it's nice because people show up later, so I get to talk, push my comic, make a few stupid jokes, and then leave. And next thing you know, it's 600 guys. I hate more than 4. I don't like it. I don't like even in real life.
I don't disagree with you. All the streams from the bigger guys and the small, when there's only 2 or 3 guys, when it's just 2 of these guys, whoever they are, and they bat it back and forth, it all ends up mostly about comics. It's not ballers or there's entertainment shows. But if it's just 2 of them, even if the guys you don't like, it ends up to be about how they make their comics
Good
and
night,
how they
Kevin.
read their comics,
He's
and
going
it
to bed
all
early.
gets more interesting. Good night, Mighty Kev.
He's out there in Albuquerque. Well, for Spider-Man, you have to portray Peter Parker.
Well, the best thing they did in Iron Man 1 was figure out how to show his face in the mask so that we didn't have to Iron Man constantly taking off his helmet. And that was the brilliant thing. But by the third movie, he never even wore the armor.
Okay, see, now this is helpful. John, you can start with the Judge Dredd Dark Judges saga. Okay, so I'll look up Dark Judges saga. Logic, when this gets up, if you could post this in because it's hard to get the comments from the chat. If you could post that in the comments on the video later on, when it's not live anymore, then I could find that comment easier.
That Logic's finest. We all
because I'm gonna forget that title. What title? What was the name of that comic again? Hard to have a dialogue. Yes, I agree. A dialogue implies two people. Yeah. John, you could just jump in anywhere with Judge Dredd. Okay. Yeah. I know Chuck Dixon says that the Alan Grant stuff is the best. I'm a little behind. I haven't listened to Chuck Dixon.
I listened to Chuck the last couple of times.
I haven't listened to him in 8 weeks because I listened to that on my commute. So like I've fallen out of the habit of not because I'm not commuting. So I'm like, oh man, I'm like 8 weeks behind on Ask Chuck Dixon.
Yeah, I like that Chuck Dixon.
That's good because that's the $20 show. I told you that, right?
No, that's the book. Either that and the books. What books am I reading? I have Conan books that Chuck wrote here. I have
Chuck.
His other book.
Chuck Dixon got me to read the Funky Flashman, the Flashman in Charge.
Right. Yeah, he was talking about that again.
He got me to read this and its sequel.
I wish I could read more.
Chuck got me to buy this, Doc Savage.
Well, I've already read
that whole stack right here is all Chuck Dixon. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
and then I tell him that, and he goes, "That doesn't help me. That doesn't put any money in my pocket."
Well, he and then the other day you didn't see this, so he's talking about Treasure Chest, the comic, right? About the Catholic comics. Somebody asked him about Catholic comics.
Thank you, Logic.
And then I put in the thing. Well, Joe Sinnott, that's why he didn't continue inking Kirby after FF5 because he was making more money doing Treasure Chest comics. And until rates went up at Marvel, he came back to ink them. He was drawing like all those biographies to popes and the Teddy Roosevelt and all that. And he says in his notes, like you put it in the YouTube chat, like YouTube. He goes, "Oh, I'm gonna have to look all those up." And I think he bought all. I think I cost him money. So I hope that makes you feel better. I think you had to go buy some treasure chests.
All right. Well, I think we did everything. We talked about the characters. We had some fun what ifs about the characters, and then came to a conclusion.
John Wagner,
and then set up next week. So, anything else? Anything else anybody want to talk about? Anything? Because I'll shut it down now.
Oh, yeah, I had a question for you, and this has nothing to do with anything. Are you going to get Horseman?
I don't know. What's the price?
I think it's $25, $25 to $50. I was looking it up.
Yeah,
I like Chuck Dixon so much.
I like Chuck Dixon. And
I want to see a review of it before I buy it. Well, they'll always have something.
I'm gonna wait for word.
Wait till it's $5.
Well, realistically, right now I ain't buying crap because
I understand.
Right now I ain't buying
I know.
anything. To the point, my buddies wanted to go out to lunch on Sunday, and I said I'm not going because I don't want to be like, guys, I don't have any money, buy me lunch. I'm not that kind of guy. So I ain't doing anything.
No, I don't blame you.
Until I get this back pay.
It's like backing. I don't back. I can't. It's too much.
That's the easy answer. Is I'm not backing anything. And if I don't, if you got a live campaign and you see me not backing, it's because of the situation. I'm out of work and insurance is dragging their feet. And then now I'm also getting worried about the printing bill for my comic also. So it's about to happen. So I'm not spending any money. But I get Horseman if I hear good stuff about it, and if he has a $5 sale, I'll get all of them. I'll get Gooding, I'll get Yara. For $5, I'll take a risk. But
right.
And then I'll put in one order and get it all one shot.
Oh, I know.
$5 a comic? No.
Logic's finest. I was kidding. Logic's finest calling it Horseman. I know it's Horseman.
Right.
I like Horseman better.
Thanks for the stream. Have a blessed day. Thank you. Luniverse says Horseman. I have to say nay. It's funny because Marcus, I had an NPC, a non-player character, vigilante, and he was called the Cavalier. And
I like that.
When Chuck announced the Horseman, I was like, wow, this is going to be my character. But the Cavalier was a guy in like field plate armor, and he had a flail and a shield, and he just like went out. It was like, he was a psychopath who just like beat the crap out of people, like extremely. He was supposed to be a guy that the other the player superheroes wanted to fight, and sometimes you would ride a horse in the streets and bash people. And I thought that's what Horseman was going to be.
That's what it is.
Oh, it is?
He has two bats on the back of him, and he bats them out like batons. They had a cartoon trailer. It was very violent. He beats everybody up.
Oh, so Chuck is going to love that.
It's a Chuck Dixon vigilante character, yeah.
Like the character on the D&D cartoon. So
I have not passed any judgment on the character. I did not read the comic.
No, I love
when I'm just joking around with the name. The name, I have to see the character. I agree with you about names, John. So I have to kind of see that.
Right.
See how that why he's named Horseman.
But again, the rip. It's just too expensive.
This is a Chuck and Joe Bennett creation. It isn't an Eric creation, even though it's part of the Rippaverse. Because Chuck says, and he said this in Ask Chuck Dixon, that Joe Bennett said you know what they need? They need a vigilante ground character, street crime character. And so Joe really came up with it and then with Chuck. So, if I hope they have a good deal of it. I would love to see them have taken that character and crowdfunded by themselves.
This is playing up to their strengths. This is so I'm hopeful for it, but I didn't even look at the price because I just assumed.
No, it's a $25 minimum book. Yeah,
I'm not taking a gamble on a $25.
No, I understand. I'm not. It's Chuck Dixon's. I hope it's good. It's hard for me to think that either Chuck or Mike Barron write anything that's a bad comic. And like even their bad comics are good. That's how I feel about them.
And a part of me's being mercenary. If he had a $5 sale at one point, he's gonna have another.
Chuck creates stuff for Vox Day. And then you're like, why doesn't he? He doesn't really want to. He doesn't want to crowdfund. He did it once, didn't like it. He doesn't want to do all that work. He'll let Graham crowdfund. So that's why he would create it for somebody else's universe.
So like I said, I'll wait.
And we don't know.
I'll wait for a $5 sale, and then I'll get all the ones that I'm missing. $5 a piece, I got no problem with, but $25 a piece.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But all the books are a lot.
So there you go, guys. So next week we'll do Judge Dredd versus the Punisher. No speculation yet. And see you guys next time. And please, somebody's got to come in and argue Judge Dredd. Otherwise, this could be me, Marcus. Like, we like the Punisher. We like the Punisher.
Well, I've read Judge. I can argue for Judge Dredd. John's sick of me, so they need somebody else to come in.
No. I enjoy it.
I'm only kidding.
Ideally, I'd like to have 4 people.
Then you've helped me out a lot, John. I'll always come on with you.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I wish Shadowpunk would come back. That was fun too.
Always.
But thanks a lot, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Good night, John.
If you haven't, check out Heroic Tales on Indiegogo. We haven't hit the goal yet, so I don't know if if the Mike Gustovich cover is even going to happen. So let's get that to happen. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody, and goodbye.